Welcome back to Superherocuts Live. It's your boy Jerry, the Watcher. Stevie, how you doing?
What's up, brother? How you doing today?
I'm good, bro. We got the docket, which is Avengers Doomsday and Secret Wars movies are delayed. Spider-Man Brand New Day will release before the Avengers movies now. Full look at the Superman suit. Marvel Studios almost had a multiversal Illuminati team. Kevin Feige and Bob Iger have some beef on X-Men, and how could the MCU make Nova a big deal in the future? The Hulk is in Spider-Man 4. Should Wanda have ended up with Magneto? Details about what Henry Cavill's Superman 2 would have been, and was Sony smart for keeping Tom Holland out of their Sony movies? Let's get into it. How you doing, Stevie?
Good, man. Happy Memorial Day. Want to give a shout out to all of the families that are not just grilling, but are grieving their fallen soldiers and family. Just want to say, man, I do believe we live in the greatest country in the world. I love America. America has given me an opportunity to meet someone like you, bro. And, look, we live in a world where people crap on our country so much, but I'm here to say I love America. I love the USA, and happy Memorial Day. And I'm proud to be an American, bro.
I love America. I'm proud to be in this country as well. Grateful that we get to meet people like you and do things like this because you're my best friend. This is the greatest comic book movie show on earth. And you can't say it's Captain America's ass if it's America's ass if Captain America doesn't represent America. So,
Amen to that, brother. Amen to that. America's booty. I love it. Right, that was a great one. That was a good one. Oh, man. So we are obviously going to talk about Avengers Doomsday first because this has shaken up like the internet. So we found out over the weekend that Avengers Doomsday and Avengers Secret Wars both got delayed. Now, Avengers Doomsday is not it isn't like it's getting pushed back a whole entire year, but instead of coming out in the spring, it is coming out on December 18th, which is the same day as Dune. Okay. So how do you feel about both of these dates being moved back, and where's your head at, bro?
You know, I think that this is a good thing. Obviously, I'm a little torn because I am so impatient for these files. I cannot wait to see these files, but I think it is for the best. I think that there's a couple of moving pieces that led Marvel to make this decision. I think that, Thunderbolts was a great file. Everyone loved it. Critics loved it. Audiences loved it. It comes out and it doesn't really make any money. So that's a problem. And they also are having an issue finalizing the deal to get Tom Holland's Spider-Man into Avengers Doomsday, which was coming out from like a year from where we are right now. So you have to think about that, right? Marvel, if they're putting out good movies that everyone loves and they're not making money, that's a problem. It's a major red flag. So the next movie they're supposed to put out is Avengers Doomsday. Imagine they put out Avengers Doomsday, and Avengers Doomsday is loved by the fans, it's loved by the critics, but it doesn't make any money. It would destroy Marvel's prestige. We wouldn't be debating if Marvel still got the magic or not. It would be gone. So I think that they were scared based on the circumstances of the Thunderbolts and Thunderbolts' box office performance. And they probably really want to get Spider-Man into that movie because Spider-Man in the movie is going to mean a box office boost, period. He's the most popular superhero. He's the most popular Marvel superhero. You put Spider-Man in the movie, more tickets are going to sell to that movie. So I think those are the reasons that these movies are being delayed. And I think it's a good thing because they cannot release an Avengers movie and have an Avengers movie be loved and it not perform in box office. Because if you have movies that are good, that people like, but you can't make money off of them, your movies it's a death wish. You know, you can't thrive as a business. And people forget that people are always, oh, it's the art and the art comes first. Wrong. Business and art. It's a 50-50. One does not supersede the other, and it's a symbiotic relationship. And so many fail to recognize that. This is a game where commerce and art meet, and it's 50-50. And if the art is good and nobody's buying it, you're no different than the guy trying to sell paintings that people like on the street. Seriously.
Great take, bro. Great take. And I know you've been waiting to say that because you just cooked. You cooked like you got straight to it fast. Sorry, I was just like, man, bro was prepared. I love it. So I think there's two things. So the biggest word that Feige and Iger have both used is the word quality. And I do believe that in order for them to keep their promise on quality, there's no way this movie was going to come out next spring without a lot of flaws. That is just a quick turnover time, and we are talking about bringing back the old Fox X-Men. We're talking about having RDJ and the possible people showing up of Chris Evans and maybe ScarJo and maybe all of these different people to do all of that and turn it over to be out in the spring. That is a Herculean task that I don't even think Disney could do and still keep quality the way it is. If Doomsday came out with the ambitious things that they're doing, they would have to cut some corners. And the reality is, if quality is what is needed, you cannot cut any corners with Avengers Doomsday. And this has to be the most ambitious film you have ever done, and you have to freaking go for it. That is one. Second thing is characters. I do think that this is a good thing because you now have two movies that you can use as backloaders to the big movie. You have talked about this many times about saying how one of the largest flaws with Doomsday is that there hasn't been a lot of movies that kind of backfill this event of Avengers Doomsday. Now we have, and as much people hate it, but these are our backfillers: Brave New World, Thunderbolts, Fantastic Four, and now Spider-Man. Brave New World fans didn't like it as much. We did, but overall the reception was not great. Thunderbolts, great reception, terrible box office. It's a loss. You can't make your money back. It's a loss, but at least fans didn't hate it. And now we go to Fantastic Four, where this movie has to exceed both Brave New World and Thunderbolts, and it has to do astronomical numbers, which I believe that it can. We just have to hope that it does. And then right after that, you are giving us the most popular superhero of all time, which is freaking Spider-Man, which is very smart to do because fans will never say no to seeing a Spider-Man movie. And the fact that we're getting Spider-Man Brand New Day, really, really big deal. Before Avengers Doomsday. So that those two projects are really good to have backfill. The questions that I do have, which we had in our convo on TikTok, because I didn't really think about, and you said this to me when we were commenting back and forth, was they could be halting a lot of and they might possibly be making plot changes with the Thunderbolts because the box office was so bad and because fans didn't show up, and we just don't know what changes are going to be made. So, and I really do believe, bro, and I've been thinking about it all day and last night, that something is going to be different in regards to this new Avengers team because of the fact that the reception wasn't bad, but fans caring to go to see these the art of caring to see these characters just wasn't there. And so, I do think that, there's a lot of questions that they are probably going over. And I was watching Den of Nerds earlier, and he was saying, from some of the context that he's had, Feige is freaking out. He's like, we did everything right. What is going on now? We know the answer, right?
That's what I was saying on TikTok, basically.
Exactly. Yeah. And you and I have said this 1,000 times, right? Like, when you damage your brand, you can't outrun the damage all the time. You can't outrun it. And they are reaping, there's this Bible verse I love. It says, you reap what you sow. What you sow into the world, you have to pay it back. And right now they are paying they're paying for the sins that they have done. So yeah, bro. Do you have any more thoughts on it?
Yeah, sometimes if you don't put out 5 big booms, you don't get 5 big booms right back. You don't know where that's from?
No.
The Costco guys.
I never heard of that.
Really? Oh.
I never heard that.
They're like, it's like a father and son duo on social media.
Oh, really?
And they made the song.
Now I'll have to watch it after the
show.
show.
It's so cringe, but like it's crazy how long they've been riding this like 15 minutes. Anyway, we're not here to talk about the Costco guys. But I just thought that was so
No, it's all good, bro, because now I'm going to watch it after we get off the show.
You have to listen to their song because they have songs and they're like, and when you give the world the boom, it gives you right back, something like that. It's
all right, bet. I'm going to check it out, bro. I'm going to check it out.
So, but no, when you play the tape forward, imagine that Avengers Doomsday comes out and people love it, but it makes no money. That's a problem. And you can't damage your brand prestige like that. And we need to talk about why Thunderbolts was an L in box office, because a lot of people don't want to face the reality. And, I was talking about Agatha the other day on Threads, and whenever you talk about like a show that is bad, right, I feel like Disney Plus shows that are bad get the most caping on Threads. It is crazy. You can't put out trash and expect it to not impact your brand. If you are a clothing brand and you are selling clothing in the mall and you have stores all across the country in malls and you're known for putting out really fire quality goods, and all of a sudden you have a collection come out and it's trash and everyone hates it, and you have another collection that comes out and it's trash and everyone hates it, people are going to stop coming to that store to browse, because now they're like, I didn't really like the most recent stuff and I'm going to skip it. That's what's happening to Thunderbolts, okay? Because you put out projects like Agatha all along, like, WandaVision and some of the other ones that just weren't good. You could even throw Falcon and the Winter Soldier in there. Even though I kind of like some things about that one, I think a lot of people didn't. But you get where I'm going with this. Now, people tuned out because Marvel damaged their prestige. They damaged the MCU brand and a franchise as a whole because they put out subpar content. And they didn't just do it once. They did it over and over and over again. And then you have people who are like, oh, but why isn't Ironheart getting any marketing? Because they know it probably sucks and they want as little attention on it as possible. That's why they're releasing 3 episodes one week, 3 episodes the next week. They want to unload it, keep everyone quiet about it, pretend it never happened, okay? That's what's going on there, because they're finally at least getting their footing back in terms of fan and critic reception. Everyone loved Thunderbolts. Everyone loved Daredevil. They're probably confident that everyone's going to love Fantastic Four. And in the midst of winning back fan and critic reception, they do not want to put out a show like Ironheart and have everyone talking about how Marvel's putting out trash again and that impacting the box office. Because if you think that people ripping on Ironheart saying a Marvel project sucks coming out while Fantastic Four is about to come out doesn't play into the Fantastic Four box office, you are out of your mind. You are playing mental gymnastics, and you're lying to yourself and you're lying to everyone else. And I'm so tired of the mental gymnastics in defense of such slop. And it's not because of, listen, I believe in representation. I've said that on the show so many times. So when people are like, oh, well, you're probably saying this about Agatha because it's a woman. Like, what do you mean? I said I like Miss Marvel. I said I like Black Widow. I support all these projects. Like, that's such a bogus. At least come up with an honest debate. It's ridiculous. And, Thunderbolts was a great file. It was great. And it didn't make any money. And if you don't think the other projects hurt reception, if you don't think that hurt it, you're out of your mind.
I agree. So I want to pull up a quote that Joe Russo said. And this was right after Black Widow happened, and they basically announced that they're doing all of their shows. And this is the thing he said. He said, but I also think too that Disney has gone very conservative post Bob Iger. They seem to be in IP management mode. You're going to get all the Star Wars and Marvel, or you're going to get all the Star Wars and all the Marvel you can handle for the next 10 years.
Does he mean conservative in being like reserved or politically?
Reserved.
Okay.
Reserved, yeah. And so Joe Russo called this, okay? And obviously I wasn't as locked in as we are now when he first said this, but Joe Russo predicted that this was going to happen. And the reality is that all of these shows were IP management, right? And look, and these shows moved no needles. These shows weren't ambitious whatsoever. Some of the movies also, like Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, should have been the most ambitious solo movie that they should have ever done, and they didn't take any chances. And some of the only chances that they did take, Wanda just soloed them in 5 minutes. You know what I mean? And so when we say that the shows are bad, obviously the quality is going to be good. We expect good quality when you're with a company like Disney or HBO or whoever. And that's another thing that pisses me off, bro, is people like, yeah, but the quality was great. We expect great quality. Like, that is a given. But what I expect is for these creators to actually take a risk, to actually use characters that people care about, and when you aren't ambitious and you do, and look, I don't mind Agatha, but I can tell you guys, in all honesty, that is not an ambitious show. She's not an ambitious character. And when you use characters like this to make the forefront of your content, it kills the importance of the MCU. And the importance of the MCU has been killed due to these shows, whether if you like them or not, bro. And the Thunderbolts is really a culmination of some of these Disney Plus shows as well, as you have said. And that is also one of the reasons why this joint failed, because it was a culmination of these shows, and a lot of fans didn't care about the freaking shows. Like, it is crazy, bro. It is insane, just the way it's going. But bro, it is wild that Joe Russo called this right before they started putting out all of these shows. It's wild.
The only risk they took was releasing this trash. It was a waste of bandwidth and weakening of the brand integrity across the cinematic universe slate. And maybe it is good that they're delaying these files, because in the delay, people are going to miss Marvel again. It creates scarcity. Scarcity is a good thing. That's one of the reasons James Bond has been so successful. Even though they've released a ton of files, you only get one every couple of years, and you're not getting a TV show about Moneypenny that nobody asked for. Okay. So I don't even want to hear it. You have to keep, like, when the MCU first started, all of the characters were fire. Okay. They weren't wasting projects on stupid characters. You know what we didn't get? We didn't get a show about Maria Hill. Okay. We got movies about Iron Man, Thor, Captain America. All these movies were about characters that people cared for and were interested. And maybe they should have released Black Widow around that time, and people would actually look at the movie. But you know what's crazy?
What, bro?
Black Widow is like the only file that's female-led that when people say it's bad, which it's not bad, it's actually a great movie. But
phenomenal.
For some reason, that one, everyone, when people do say it's trash, no one says, you're just saying that because it's a woman. It's only when you're talking about Agatha or some of this Disney Plus slop. And I don't know why that's the case, but I do think it's interesting. But Disney Plus has been so damaging to the MCU. And you even said that in a comment when we were talking about this last night. And it's not because Disney Plus, it was a bad idea or a bad platform. Like, a lot of people, when things go wrong, they aren't smart enough to specify and get to the nitty gritty of what exactly went wrong. And by being so vague, when you're vague, you're naturally not accurate and you're not precise. So a lot of times when you're vague, you end up being wrong by default just because you're not accurately pinpointing something. And Disney Plus could have been good if they made good shows about characters that people were interested in. But when you're making shows about characters that people aren't interested in, you're already starting off from, like, a handicap position, and then you have to sell these characters like Agatha. I never wanted a WandaVision show, okay? I didn't like WandaVision. A lot of people didn't like WandaVision. And then you're going to tell me you're going to make a show about the villain, and everyone was hoping we were going to get a different villain in WandaVision. Everyone was talking about Mephisto the whole time, and then we find out it's Agatha, and everyone's disappointed to find out in Agatha. And then for some reason, you think it's a good idea to make a show about Agatha. And when I was talking about this on Threads, someone was also commenting, well, it brought in a lot of new fans because a lot of fans never watched MCU anything, and then they liked the idea of Agatha, so they went back and watched WandaVision, and then they watched Agatha. Those aren't real MCU fans. If you only started watching the MCU because of Agatha, you're probably not the kind of fan Marvel needs, okay? Because now you're going to only want this, ridiculous witchcraft musical show, which Marvel is probably never going to make anything like that again. So you do also have wrong fans or wrong customers. If you try to sell everything to everyone, you end up you end up not serving your core customer, and you have to serve the core customer first. And of course, yes, you have to sell casuals. And I'm not saying this isn't a mass market thing, but if you only started watching the MCU because of Agatha, you're probably not going to stick around for Avengers Doomsday either. Let's be real.
Yeah. I mean, and then if we look at the other side, like if we look at the DCU, right? Like James Gunn is doing a Green Lantern show. That's an ambitious character that's a big character to put in the show. You know what I mean? That is the opposite of what we're talking about. It's he's having a character that should have their own movie. Two of the biggest characters in DC Comics, they're getting a show. And even though Jerry and I would want them to do a movie, at least he's not trying to throw us just random D-list characters for shows to watch. You know what I mean? And that's all I'm saying. It's and I think this has been Disney's thing. Is that why is it that I am more excited to read leaks than watch the movies? The leaks in the past, ever since Endgame, have been better than all of the movies. All of the leaks, all every single rumor. I am going to complete that. I've enjoyed covering those more than covering the actual movie, and and I don't know, man. It just feels like Marvel Studios has been so just scared to take chances. And even with Deadpool and Wolverine, I felt like they could have gone crazier there. Even with Thunderbolts, you could have had Sam in that movie. You could have had Sentry do more. You could have had other characters pop up. It's sometimes it just feels like they're not going all out like they should. And we're going to talk about this more when we get into the X-Men beef. But Feige needs and maybe that's because Feige hasn't been as involved or whatever, but they have to really take risk. And taking risk, guys, doesn't mean recasting a character to be a female. Taking risk to me doesn't mean race, doesn't mean casting someone that is of another race. That is not taking risk. Taking risk is the idea of Deadpool. Deadpool and Wolverine is a risk. You are actually trying to do something crazy that people have thought of, but it's never come to life. That just that idea was so big, and we need more of that ambitious mindset, when it comes to these movies, bro. Because when I watch James Gunn, that's what I see from him. He is ambitious as hell, bro.
Yeah, and we need ambitious, creative storytelling. And I'm going to blow past a big argument right now, because when people are like, oh, they gender swap because they are doing something new and creative. Gender swapping has been going on for a long time, and it's about the laziest thing ever. You're just defending it because you think it's a good thing to go all the way crazy when it comes to diversity. I think diversity is important. Representation is important, but we have to be fair about it, okay? And we can't just gender swap and race swap characters for the hell of it. And it's definitely not creative. It's completely lazy. And most real fans of it, I don't believe there's any real James Bond fan that's like, oh, let's get it. You know what? We should do a Jamie Bond movie. If you are someone who's arguing for a female James Bond, you are not a James Bond fan.
Yeah,
period.
Exactly, bro.
And it's like a lot of these people, they just want to do it to piss people off, and they're not even going to see the movie anyway if they did do the Jamie Bond or, and then there's like the Silver Surfer thing. It's technically not a gender swap because, yes, Shalabal is a female Silver Surfer from the comics, but it's a loophole because it's really the same thing. You're giving us a female version of the male character that we all want to begin with. So it's not technically the same exact thing, but it's the same concept. Okay. So it's so ridiculous. And people are just, you have the worst argument, and you pick a losing argument. A lot of people think I'm just really good at arguing and debating. It's not just that. It's because I'm smart enough to pick a winning argument to begin with. And I'm also smart enough to blow past the bullshit arguments that a lot of you put up to begin with also.
Yeah, bro. I mean, look, and even look at John Wick, right? They could have literally said, right, John Wick died at the end of John Wick 4. We could just we could just cast a girl and name her John Wick. I don't know. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. But they didn't. They got a dynamic actress in Anna De Armas, who is proven in the industry, and they are releasing a whole new character called the Ballerina, which I know a lot of females that are excited to freaking see that movie.
People are saying it's great, by the way.
Exactly. And they are having John Wick feature in the movie to give her more leadway to make John Wick fans want to go to see it. Do you know why? Because there's a thing called creativity. There's a thing called ambition. And when you are ambitious and your drive is in politics or gender politics or any of this crap that goes on in this world, you want to make a good story and movie. And I'm telling you guys, this fever that has been going on, this box office that we have just witnessed with Brave New World, and this has showed us you can't do this anymore. You cannot. Or the MCU is dead. Even look at Batgirl. Zaslav canned Batgirl. Do you know why? Because Zaslav knew even if the movie was good, because there are some people who think it was good, even if it was good, it would have damaged the IP. And this is what y'all have to understand. There are like you can spin it and say the actor is good. You can spin it. Look, WandaVision, I love that show. Jerry knows this. I love the show to death. But I can tell you, it damaged the IP because they weren't ambitious. Doctor Strange was supposed to show up in that show. Magneto was supposed to be in the end of the show to put Wanda with Magneto, and it didn't happen. Like, it's the writing's on the wall, man.
Actors, when they want to do commercials, you ever notice that you've never seen a Leo DiCaprio Coca-Cola commercial?
Mm-hmm.
There's a reason for it. And they, first of all, the ones that do commercials like that do it overseas, and they make sure the contracts say that those commercials are never going to be shown in the US, the UK, Australia, and like major English speaking countries. And they do that to keep their brand prestige, so that when they do a file like Django, for example, everyone's going to want to see it. They're not going to think less of Leo DiCaprio for whoring himself out in a Coca-Cola commercial for a quick payday. And the scarcity and prestige of Leo DiCaprio being cast in a file is still a big deal. And it's crazy how everyone just doesn't understand brand management. And I also noticed that when I always say that Spider-Man is the best managed character and IP in the game, a lot of people will say like, oh, well, Sony movies or this or that. It's like, if you can't recognize that Spider-Man is the best managed character in the game, you really shouldn't be talking about IP management and branding at all.
Yep. All right, now let's some chats, and then we go to the next topic. Slap the league is marked with a bunch of dum-dums or something like that. I don't know. Shout out to my guy, man. Excuse me. Shout out to my guy, man. That was funny. I actually am kind of happy by this. Making sure the film is done and done right is a good sign. Facts. With the delay in the recent X-Men casting similar to the F4, you think it's possible the MCU X-Men movie could take place in another Earth and we see them in Secret Wars while the Fox X-Men dies in Doomsday? I don't think so, bro. I think X-Men's going to be after all this. It would be dumb to because the X-Men has to be branded as like the new MCU. This is our new future, and
it's not going to feel new if you include it with the send-off for the Fox X-Men. And if you do that, it's pointless to have the Fox X-Men in this file to begin with. And there's already so many characters that adding another class of X-Men is just, it would be overkill.
Yeah. And also Days of Future Past was already that. Like they can't copy any stuff from like the old, as in stuff like that. It would feel weird if, by the way, Days of Future Past is such a great movie. It would feel weird if Spider-Man is not in Doomsday, especially because it was his movie that really kicked off all of the multiverse cameo stuff with No Way Home. He's a sizable character. If any more facts, bro, you're cooking. Both critically and financially is important. I don't know how this is a common sense. Yeah, bro. Sad to see what has happened to Thunderbolts, but there's no one to blame but Marvel. That's unfortunate. That's unfortunately what you get for consistent bad movies and TV shows on characters no one cares about facts. And that is the thing, bro. People try to make this a rocket science thing. This stuff isn't rocket science. The writing is clearly on the wall, guys. You think they remember that if a movie is good, people will see. Now they got to lock marketing down, and I think Marvel could turn the corner and be better. Yeah, and look, I don't know if you guys have seen it, but there's been like almost 3 clips of the Fantastic Four, new clips that have dropped in the past like 4 days, and they're dropping another trailer in the game 4 of the Knicks and the Indiana. So like they know that they need to sell the crap out of Fantastic Four.
And by the way, they marketed the hell out of Thunderbolts. You could argue that it was their most ambitious marketing initiative in the entire MCU with that new Avengers billboard stunt they did. That was crazy.
100%. I'm hoping for another Doctor Strange movie in between now and Doomsday, but they need to start filming now. So they had 2 untitled files, but they took them off a schedule, so we probably aren't going to get that. And the reason why is because fans hated it. Brand new day coming out pre-Dooms. We are going to talk about that next, so I'm going to skip that comment. A Black Panther movie or Doctor Strange movie would be perfect. Would be the perfect sort of prologue to Doomsday. I agree, but I think we are going to get a lot of Wakanda in Doomsday on another Earth with another T'Challa. I really firmly do believe that. Adding the fact that more people are excited for the X-Men and Fantastic Four over the Avengers in a movie called Avengers Doomsday is a problem. So they need this time to properly build up the Avengers game. Yeah, and like, would it have been smarter for Marvel Studios just to combine Brave New World and Thunderbolts and make it one movie, and then you just do Fantastic Four? Would that have been the better option? Not sure. Like, you know what I mean? Rather than putting out 2 films that fans hated. Or 2 files that, well, one that fans hated and the other that fans didn't go and see. I was to check out of Marvel after not recasting T'Challa. Gosh. Well, Doomsday was originally Kang Dynasty, and they were building up the King. Whether you like him, that seemed to be playing. Yeah, and I even heard that RDJ as Doom was like a plan for a while, even when Jonathan was King. They just had to speed it up.
100%, because they touched on the incursions way back in 2022 with Doctor Strange, the Multiverse of Madness, which means they probably knew they were doing incursions at 2019, 2020, which also means they knew they were doing Secret Wars. And if they knew they were doing Secret Wars in 2019, 2020, that means they were planning for Doctor Doom since at least 2019, 2020.
Yeah, but bro, I'm saying like, so Josh, he was saying that RDJ Doom was like a plan for a while, and I was shocked that, and I'll be shocked if that's true, that they were talking to RDJ about doing this for a while. Like that's what shocked me, not necessarily Dr. Doom.
That I don't know about, because I think I heard that they only thought about doing RDJ Doom like a year ago, and there was some information about how they had the idea like a year before they announced it. So I don't know that they were talking about RDJ Doom for a long time.
And that's what I'm saying, because RDJ Doom to me seemed more of like a Russo's idea, not necessarily a Feige idea. At least from the way that they said it, it was like they were in the writer's room, and that's where they came up with it. It wasn't necessarily like Feige's like, oh, like, you know, multiverse deal started. You know what I mean?
I gotta find that because conflicting.
Yeah, Ironheart is going to be iconically bad.
Yeah.
And the sad thing is the actress ain't bad, man. Actress ain't bad.
I think and
talent.
You know, by the way, I gotta say, like, a lot of people have a lot of things to say about Ironheart, but they didn't do this character justice with the way they introduced her in the comics. They introduced her by Iron Man. They sold Iron Man books, and she was the character, the main character of the book. But the book was called Invincible Iron Man. So that's a problem. You're laundering in this character, and then you put her in Wakanda Forever without T'Challa. So people are already kind of pushed the wrong way from that movie. And now you're putting out a show of her on Disney Plus where you put out a bunch of slop with a bunch of characters that people don't care about. And now you have people on Threads who complain that Marvel's not marketing this properly. It's like they never... You want to complain about how they handled Ironheart? You have a lot of real things to complain about how they handled Ironheart. But the marketing for this show is like the natural cause and effect of a lot of the things that a lot of you have been defending for a long time.
100%. All right. Next topic here, Spider-Man: Brand New Day. So with the delay of Avengers Doomsday and Avengers Secret Wars, we found out that Spider-Man Brand New Day will be taking the place of where Avengers Doomsday was going to be released. So, bro, how do you feel about Spider-Man Brand New Day being moved up and coming out before these large event films?
I think it makes sense. Like, I always thought it was weird that this movie was going to come out between Doomsday and Secret Wars. So I think this makes sense that it comes out before. You know, there's a lot of information, and I'm kind of stuck on the idea that this is going to be well, now my thoughts are even evolving more, but they were saying that this is going to be a classical Spider-Man file, and then possibly at the end of the file they're going to reveal that it was a multiversal movie and it took place on a different Earth in a different universe. You know, maybe that's the case, and that kind of brings us into Doomsday. Who knows? But I think that it makes more sense, and now they could potentially use this file to build up to Avengers Doomsday, which means we would have Captain America: Brave New World, Thunderbolts, Fantastic Four, and Spider-Man leading us up to Avengers Doomsday. Those are 4 files, and it gives us a lot more potential for fans to be bought into the story leading into Avengers Doomsday and not just being hyped for the file based on cameo appearances.
Yeah, I agree. I think that this is the smart move. Number one, it's going to give Destin Cretton, or whatever his name is, but it is going to give him a lot more room to be more creative. Because I do feel like when you're in between movies like those, you're kind of bound to what's going on. So we are going to be able to get probably I'm not going to say a whole entirely different story, but he's really going to be able to take us into this world that, you know, he wants Spider-Man to be in, you know, and I think that's going to be really good from that standpoint. And we just talked about it in our last topic that, you know, it also gives Doomsday more leadway, and having a movie like Spider-Man Brand New Day set up this, you know, this set up Doomsday. I think this is also going to be great. I also think that this is going to be really good for the cast in general. Because I really do believe that I don't think this is the last time that we are going to see Tom Holland. I'm not saying that people have said that, but I know Tom Holland took like a wild break off acting, and that had to do with some, you know, personal stuff that we won't talk about. But I do think that this is the start of Tom Holland's next stint of Spider-Man, and I think he's going to be in a lot. I think he's going to be Spider-Man a lot. You know what I mean? And whether that's Sony or the MCU, I don't know, but I really think he's going to be donning that mask a lot more. And so I think that having a movie where I hope Spider-Man is just so active and, you know, he's just doing his thing, I think is going to be fun. And I wanted to also talk about a comment that I saw under your TikTok, where someone said that they hope that he keeps the same suit, and I really like that idea, bro. I really like that idea. And I think you talked about it's the same thing as Toby, right? Kind of like how he kept the same suit. I like that idea also, bro.
Yeah, I think that idea is a good idea in theory. I mean, it's not just in theory; it's a good idea in general, because then you could really the thing about suits is that you could look at any suit and you could remember when and where the hero is wearing it, and you could have a certain suit that if you keep it for the next Spider-Man trilogy, it could define that trilogy. I think the issue with it that Marvel and Disney might have is that they want to sell toys, and if they want to sell toys, it's easier to sell new toys when you have a new suit and you have multiple suits, because now that kid is going to want 3 Spider-Man action figures instead of 1, and so I think it's a good idea. I hope they do it, but I think the guys that are responsible for selling toys might nip that idea in the bud real quick.
Exactly. And like they have done similar things to where like we saw the same Spider-Man suit in Civil War, Homecoming, and then we got the same suit in Infinity War, right? And then we got the Iron Spider suit, and then we got the Iron Spider suit in Far From Home, right? And we also got to see the Iron Spider suit in No Way Home, and then his default Spider-Man suit was the Far From Home suit, right? So like, I feel like, we have gotten some level of consistency, and maybe it's going to be the same as that, to where like the concept of the costume is still the same, but just the colors change. By the way, this Spider-Man suit that we see here with that dark blue, bro, that is slowly becoming one of my favorite Spider-Man costumes of all time.
Black.
Or is black? Yeah, bro. That suit is gas, bro.
I liked it from day one.
Yeah, bro. It is a great suit, bro, and isn't it very underrated? It's a great costume.
I always wanted a black and red Spider-Man suit. When I first saw that, I lost it. But, it's funny. I actually was thinking about you because I've been rereading Dan Slott's Amazing Spider-Man. Yeah. And so for some of it, I don't know if it's all of it, but he's got like really small eyes. I think I took a picture to send you, but yeah. Yeah, they actually look kind of cool because they're like round and it makes it look like round glasses. So it's got a cool look to it. But I always thought the eyes in the MCU suits were really cool. They're like perfect. The outline, it's like a modern version of the Steve Ditko eyes.
Yeah, man. Marvel Studios, they know how to make a good suit, bro. They like even if the movie's bad, I can always know that they're going to make a real good costume. Like,
it's funny too because you get the intellectual inferiors who are like, oh, there are too many lines. Like, all of Marvel's suits have a lot of lines. Like, it never occurred to you that maybe there's a strategy behind it and there's a reason. There's a lot of lines, and it's not just like, you know what? Let's put a lot of lines because it's like if you see someone do something consistently, there's probably a reason for it. And it's crazy that none of these people, if everything fails to cross their minds. It's so crazy. 100%. And the more time I spend posting things on social media and getting comments, the more familiar I become with the average person's lack of intelligence.
100%, bro. And I would even see it. So I posted, I think it was when I posted about the Superman suit and all of the comics that the details from the Superman suit was drawing from. And
you got mad traction on that post.
Yeah, bro. It was crazy, but somebody told me that it was terrible. So I DM'd the guy and I said, "What do you think about the suit is terrible?" And the guy said to me that the S is not comic accurate when the photo shows where the S comes from. Like, bro, but this how you know people don't watch. They hear one thing that they don't agree with and they just type.
That was a lot of the comments I got on my Silver Server TikTok. It's like you didn't even listen to the video and you're trying to argue. It's crazy.
Exactly. And like, I just can't argue with someone who doesn't watch. Like, you got to give me a chance too, man. It's like, geez,
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
It's ridiculous. All right, let's see some comments here. Here we go. Our heart could be a 20 out of 10 straight fire, and no one's going to care. The show is guaranteed to fail. And I'm not trying to sound mean, but when I say, yeah, exactly. And look, and I don't think it's going to be bad either, but bad press. Most of it, not all D plus shows from Marvel and Star Wars have been really crappy. Like after She-Hulk, I stopped watching the MCU shows. I even stopped watching the movies. All it takes is one bad show to event. Yes, and like John Campea, right? Who is like, he is no shill. I love him, but he even championed the Megan Thee Stallion twerk scene, and he even had to like back off of She-Hulk. You know what I mean? And for someone that
what did he say about She-Hulk?
So he said that like he loved the Meg the Stallion scene. Yeah, like he thought it was hilarious.
He loves that. That's
right. And then and he said that like at first he said at first he was giving it a chance, but I think he said like after episode, I think it was like 3 or 4, he was like, I just can't. Like, I can't watch any more of it. And he said he was like, I just had to back off. And when you have people like him where he watches everything, no matter how bad it is, when someone like that backs off, bro, that's all you need to know. That's all you need to know.
Great point. I think it was Dan Slott who, by the way, Dan Slott could write some good comics. He could write some horrible comics, but I don't think he really is active on X anymore. But he was the most insufferable person on social media probably ever. And when She-Hulk came out, I'm pretty sure it was him who was like, well, it was comic accurate. Like, bro, you're Dan Slott. You should know comic accurate isn't the only standard. Just because something is comic accurate doesn't mean by default it's good. There was a kid, I went on his TikTok live. I wasn't on it, but I was just watching it and commenting. Yeah. And, he was talking about Thunderbolts, and it was like right after I saw it. So, and he was saying how he was saying, did you like the movie? Whatever. I said, I loved it. I thought it was great. I just thought the third act was pretty weak. And he was like, whoa, well, what didn't you like about the third act? And I was like, I didn't like the Sentry and, the crying and all that. And he's like, well, I could show you panel for panel that happened in the comic. Like, but I told you I didn't like the scene. What does it make a difference if it comes from the comics or not? And it was crazy how he couldn't understand that, and it's the same guy, by the way, who, when Comics Explained said New Avengers / Avengers, and he was like, oh, the Brian Bendis New Avengers run, that one's my favorite. Like, bro, do you actually read comics? You didn't recognize that he's talking about the Hickman saga? So it's so funny. It's like the people who are comic posers who don't even really understand what comic accuracy means. It's just crazy.
Yeah, it's wild, bro. It's wild. And like comic, and you are right. Comic accuracy is a piece of the puzzle, but not the whole puzzle, because it's a movie. So there's some adaptation that has to come into it to make fans wanna love it. Like they made changes. Like there's been changes made to like, bro. Like it is hilarious because I forget, but I was reading like a random Captain America comic, or just one just popped up and I was just searching. So I like read a few pages of it, and I was like, hey, I don't remember, but it was just a random. Bro, it was just a random comic. It was just Captain America, and I was just I was bored. And one of the things I was like, dang man, Captain America, he can be angry, bro. He can be like an angry old man at times, bro. Right? And then I'm thinking, I'm like, dang. In the MCU, Steve isn't really like that. But they knew that was a change that they had to make in the MCU to make Steve work. We don't really see a lot of angry old man Steve in the MCU. Like Steve's way of being an old man in the MCU is more of like, I don't know what that is. I don't know what that is. I'm trying to figure out what that is.
Golden boy.
Exactly, bro. But like that, but that was just a change that that Marvel that Feige and them knew that they had to make. So like, if you don't understand that, bro, like, come on, man. Open up the books, bro. Jeez Louise. But now old man Steve is hilarious though. I'm not gonna lie. Angry old man Steve is funny. Stop watching Disney Plus after Moon Knight And the only time I returned was for X-Men 97. Bro, Moon Knight was fire and X-Men 97 is fire. I love both of those shows.
Yeah, I liked Moon Knight.
Oh, yeah. Now, that's an ambitious show.
Yeah. But
probably the most that they've done.
A lot of people didn't like it.
It's crazy. Yeah. And they went crazy on that show. I love that show. They brought me back with the Fantastic Four trailer and Daredevil. Oh, facts. Yeah, I don't really count X-Men 97 as an MCU thing, but yeah, I came after that as well. Facts.
It's not. It's odd that in the MCU timelines on Disney Plus, some of them, I don't know if they still do, but at some point in time, X-Men 97 was included. Like, I think it was on the Multiversal Saga timeline or something like that.
Yeah. We did get Agent Carter. Yeah, there is an Agent Carter show. Totally forgot about that. Never watched it and never will. I thought it was okay. Kind of hope they use Taskmaster again. But like the comic version, he could be really funny. Yeah, hopefully. Huh?
Speaking of Agent, you know, one of the most underrated Marvel characters is Agent Venom. Agent Venom is Flash Thompson as Venom, yes, but he does Black Ops missions. Bro, it is so badass. It is one of my favorite like sleeper characters in all of Marvel Comics.
That sounds fun. That really does sound fun, actually.
Dope.
That sounds really fun. Characters like Daredevil, Ghost Rider, Nova, Moon Knight, etc. should have been the ones who got showed for characters like She-Hulk and Echo. Facts. Or you just make the movies, which was probably the better option. Bro, the WandaVision twist effing trauma. Yeah. Yes, bro. Facts, bro. I like, bro. I thought we were, yeah, bro. Thank you, bro. Like, it's like, yo, you have the rights to these characters and you're just letting them sit there. We get Evan Peters with no explanation of why he's there. And then he's in Agatha for no reason again. It's ridiculous. The leaks and cons are facts, bro. And I guarantee you Thunderbolts would have received worse if Sentry was played by Steven Yeun. They need to stop race swapping. Facts, bro. It would have. Hopefully Steven Yeun is negative, though. If he's Mr. Negative, that'll be freaking awesome. Thunderbolts should have been New Avengers. And is Sam putting together the New Avengers and all that? Yeah, bro, I agree, man. Bro, I mean, look, I wouldn't have minded a pre-Avengers movie before Avengers Doomsday of Sam going at it with Bucky and the Thunderbolts or whoever trying to figure out what's going on. That might have been gas. And you throw like Spider-Man or something. Gunn took characters no one knew about and made them household names. I don't know what that means. By the way, the Guardians are cooked with their current lineup as well. Just saying, like they are cooked, bro. They are cooked, bro.
Bro, I disagree.
They are cooked, bro.
No, because they have Adam Warlock now. They have Adam
that is not selling, bro. In movies, bro. They need to not make a Guardian. Just end Guardians with 3, bro. Just end it with 3. Trust.
No, I strongly disagree on that one.
Being the Silver Surfer in a comic book no one read. Right? Exactly. Yeah. Exactly, right? Because your job is to sell a movie, right? Right. That is your job, to sell a movie.
Comic accurate. Bro, you never even read the comics, so shut up.
You never heard of Shallow Bow until they said it. Yeah. And I'm going to be very honest. The only reason why I knew of a female Silver Surfer was because of the boobs. I'm just being honest.
Yeah.
I'm just being real. That's the only reason why that's the only reason why I knew about this character. It was probably 2017. And I saw the image. And I was like, "Wow!"
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You know what they should do? They should do Kim Kardashian as Mystique. And
here you go, bro.
and they could make a Mystique Skims ad. Think about how many fans that would bring. Oh, now everyone's like, "Oh, we don't want those fans." Well, that's exactly how I feel about the Agatha fans. Okay.
Every time you post that Sophie Rain crap, bro, it makes me laugh so hard,
bro. People think I'm like serious.
Yeah, I can see it. Yeah. Dude, I be crying, bro. That in Files, bro. It takes me out every time, bro. It takes me out every time.
Yeah. Oh man.
God. You're so funny, bro.
Yeah.
Like the funny thing about you that makes me laugh is like you know how to like talk mad serious during a joke, so like people can really think you're like for real, and that's what makes me laugh a lot because you be having a straight face, bro.
Yeah. You have to, bro. You gotta give them the pump fake, you know.
Yeah, facts. All right, so
when I do something like that, the most fun part of it is the other person's reaction.
Yeah, bro, and it's funny because like you'd be like, and no, but I think it's funny because like it's like the way you word it, it sounds so professional. Sophie Rain will be perfect for this casting. I thought about this for weeks. Like, I just be like, yo, I'm like, yo, people don't know he is just playing with y'all.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about this full look at the Superman costume right here. So by the way, Slab said this should have been the first look, bro. If this was the first look, oh my goodness. How do you like this look of the Superman suit in the
Fortress of Solitude? The door to the Fortress of Solitude, and you could clearly see that the crack in the door is obviously styled similarly to the Kingdom Come Superman logo. His pose, just the way the suit hangs to the side, everything about it just looks incredible. This should have been the reveal. And if someone says, oh, well, you can't really see the detail, you didn't really see the detail in the reveal either. So shut up. And this is better than that. Okay. Yeah.
I'm clipping that. That was funny. Yeah. No, but you're right though, bro. In that first picture, it was dark. His suit was dirty. It was so stupid. Oh my god. This is a perfect shot right here. The suit looks
the kind of shot you would text me and I would have to pull over to look at.
100%, bro. This is great. And everything is colored perfectly, like the lighting, everything in this is great. But no, the Superman suit was great, and it's so funny, bro. How on X and on Threads, and now I've been like reading Threads more, but more for laughs because people are stupid on Threads.
Bro, and is the dumbest group of people ever.
Yeah, definitely. Like in the social media world, Threads is the dumbest. And like I saw a thread post where someone was like, this suit has convinced me that Superman is the movie of the year. I'm like, bro, like a costume, bro. You got to be kidding me, bro.
It's like, do you even watch movies?
like, yes, it looks dope, but that's what convinced you, not the dope trailer that they dropped like 2 weeks ago. Like, come on, man. So yeah, I am really excited for this movie, bro. And everything that's been coming out has just been a W. And as I said, fans are happy about this. And I mean, July can't come soon enough, bro. Like, I don't know. I'm ready. I'm ready for it.
Yeah, me too. July is going to be epic.
Let's talk about this while we're here. So DC Studios is making its return to Comic-Con again this year, which is awesome. They haven't had their own panel in Comic-Con in the past 2 years, and a lot of people do believe that, and a lot of people thought that DC was going to be overshadowed because of Doomsday, but now that Doomsday is getting pushed back, and Comic-Con is like 2 or 3 weeks after Superman is out, they have the chance to do some really cool stuff. A couple projects that I would love to get announced. I really want to see Paradise Lost. I love the idea of a Game of Thrones show with Diana in it. Like, it just sounds very awesome because the Amazons are dope. And if you have and with Wonder Woman in the show, and they're fighting and doing all these different things behind the scenes, I think that would be fun.
Disagree about that.
Really?
Yeah, and full transparency, I haven't read Paradise Lost, but the concept of an all-female Game of Thrones doesn't sound like a W to me. It sounds like the Dune Prophecy show that people didn't really like. I tried to get into it. I couldn't. I think that if you're going to do a Game of Thrones type show, you need to have it's got to be co-ed. For the inferiors out there, co-ed means men and women. But so I just don't think it's a good. I don't like that idea. Just because
So I think it could be really well, but you got to put out a Wonder Woman movie before it. But I do like the concept of the show itself. It really has me interested. Another thing, we have to see Lantern's footage, bro. You have the shows. We have to see that.
It exists because they've been filming it for a while. It's probably almost done at this point.
Mm-hmm. We also need Supergirl something. We need Supergirl stuff too, because that's the movie that you're trying to sell us for next year as well. And so do you? And then
do we?
We do, man. We do. Mostly because she's a little quote unquote pillar. That still drives me insane that Zaslav said that, bro. That still is the wildest thing I've heard all month. That is probably the dumbest thing I've heard all month. That Supergirl is a pillar for the DCU. Yeah. Gosh, that's stupid.
So stupid. I mean, you know what they wouldn't have done? They wouldn't have said Hal and John are the pillars. So why is Supergirl a pillar?
100%. 100%. Now, question. Since Comic-Con is after Superman, does a Batman announcement seem possible to you?
100%. 100%. Because I think it's more likely than not. I think it's a minimum, a 60% chance that we see a Batman cameo in Superman. And my reason for believing this so strongly is that the importance of Superman's box office success and what kind of attention, hype, and boost it would give Superman if Batman is in it and that is tied to a casting announcement. Because if he's in the movie, we're obviously going to find out who's playing Batman. I mean, technically, they could have him in the mask and not tell us and then reveal that in Comic-Con. But I think if they're going to do it, I think they're going to announce it like the weekend of. I think that, it'll come out on Friday and they'll probably, they know, say it releases that Friday. People are going to be talking about it that Thursday, that Batman cameo. So, they'll let the trades run wild, the websites run wild with it. And I think that the casting announcement and cameo would make that Superman movie hype go crazy. And then they bring that actor along with David Corenswet to to Comic-Con. Bro, DCU has arrived.
Another question for you. Would you understand if Superman is a massive success, they do World's Finest before Brave and the Bold?
I don't like that idea at all. At all. I think it's stupid. I think you would be rushing it.
I agree.
It's the DCEU didn't work.
I agree.
You want to take some inspiration from visuals and shots, fine. But the one thing you should not touch from them is their roadmap. Zack Snyder is not the blueprint. That blueprint was a failure.
Yeah. And I think a World's Finest movie being announced isn't bad, but Brave and the Bold needs to come first. And because that is what, from what I read, that is the DCU's most anticipated movie so far. So you got to make that happen. You have to.
I would prefer to see a Justice League movie and not World's Finest. But there are rumors that it's going to be a World's Finest.
Yeah, probably. All right. Recouple your chats, and we're going to get to the next topic here. Let me see. Wow, y'all chatting today. I love it. Okay. The suit has grown on me, and I love it. I still think the Reeves suit in terms of comic book accuracy is better, but I'm starting to really like the new suit. I'm hyped for this movie. Dude, Reeves suit is so corny. Oh my gosh, I hate that costume. In the first book,
I get it that it was for its time, but a lot of people look at the Reeves movies today as if they are some standard in 2025. The one thing I feel like it really did get right is the characterization and vibe of Superman, but the movie feels so dated by every standard that, when people are saying, "Oh, Reeves is the best Superman movie," and that's the standard, and no, we don't live. And there's too many people that look on things just because it's a classic as if I don't know how to describe it. I got to get better think about this, but more and come up with a more precise way to describe it. But the idea of people just praising things redundantly and overly praising things because they're classics is so corny, so intellectually lazy, and it just makes me think that you aren't someone that actually thinks about things, and you're more emotion, less thought.
It's kind of like if And I'm not saying this will ever happen because I do think that like the Dark Knight is a staple for a lot of Batman fans, but it's like if like 20 to 30 years from now, right? There's like 5 to 10 different movies and stories with the Joker and Batman that's substantially better than the Dark Knight, right? And like instead of people saying the Dark Knight is the reason why we've gotten these great stories, you just say that the Dark Knight is the better story over all of these other stories. It's like you have to be honest and say it's better, but you can still pay respect where it's due. And like Reeves has his respect, but it's like, people really be trying to argue on me about the costume. It's like, bro, come on, that Jones mid, bro.
You just like had to go there with the Dark Knight, and there's like so many real analogies that you could have used, but you had to go all the way into the.
I can't stand talking to you because you know all my moves, bro.
Yeah, because I actually had a really good one, and I'm gonna watch this intellectually superior argument. Okay? I'm a diehard James Bond fan. Everyone knows that, okay? But if you can't acknowledge that Casino Royale is a superior file to Goldfinger, like you're out of your mind. Yeah. And that doesn't mean that Goldfinger isn't bad and it's not a classic. And it, Casino Royale wouldn't exist without it. But when you judge them on its merit and you take away all that other context, Casino Royale is a superior movie. Period. Yeah.
That is the better one. So sorry for my trolling, guys. I just trying to get a rise out of you, but you know my game at this point. It doesn't work anymore. You like, bro, the funny thing is, as I'm saying it, I just see your face. You like, you're just like, yeah, I know what you're doing, bro.
Yeah, bro. You had to go 30 to 40 years in an imaginary future to make your argument, okay?
It's the multiverse. It's the multiverse. What I hope for Comic-Con, the DC use more information on the Brave and the Bold release dates. Would love a Green Lantern movie announcement, but doubt it. Ooh, that would be crazy. I think at Comic-Con we're going to get our Batman and Wonder Woman casting, especially assuming Batman and Wonder Woman. That would be crazy. But I would like a Flash casting more than a Wonder Woman, dude. I really want to see the Flash, bro. I don't know why, but my Flash kick has been like rising over time. I really want to see
the Flash, man. He's such a great character.
I agree, bro. The pillar thing is still what makes me worried. The fourth pillar should have been either the Flash or Green Lantern, or at the very least Teen Titans Facts, bro.
You know what? That is such a dumb thing. I think the reason they did Supergirl as the pillar is because they wanted it to be even men and women. I really do. I think that was the reason. And it's stupid because the reason should be creative. When diversity is the reason for making a creative decision, you're not by definition, you're not prioritizing the movie and creativity and telling the best story. You're prioritizing doing things because diversity. I'm not saying that things shouldn't be done for diversity. Like you should, make movies with diverse cast heroes leading the movies. That's important and all that. But that doesn't mean that you make Supergirl the pillar of DC and not Jon Stewart.
100%, brother. 100%. All right. Now, next topic here. Marvel Studios almost had a multiversal team, but it didn't happen. Okay, so Marvel Studios was reportedly considering introducing a multiversal Illuminati team in the MCU. The team would have consisted of Miguel O'Hara, Reed Richards, Doctor Strange, Professor X, and the Beast. And this is coming from the Cosmic Circus. So, what's your thoughts on this? Because like you are a Illuminati guy, so like, how does this strike you?
I think I've said they should have done this. I think that we really had the multiversal saga is the longest stretch we've had in the MCU without an Avengers file. We had multiple Avengers movies throughout the Infinity Saga, but up until Avengers, Infinity War, and Endgame, Marvel decided they wanted to copy the formula and kind of finish off their sagas with an Avengers cycle. But we've also had not just in a lack of Avengers files throughout the multiversal saga, we've really had a lack of Avengers, because through the Infinity Saga, what we also had was crossover movies that had multiple Avengers, and sometimes all of them, like in movies like Civil War. But the multiversal saga, there was really none of that. And if they had the Illuminati, you would have alleviated that. And I think that the multiversal saga would have been stronger for that.
I agree. And obviously from a practical standpoint, right? Like, you said what?
Please clip that.
Oh yeah. Don't worry. We're gonna make sure that's clipped. Another thing too, bro, is that from a practical standpoint, right? Like the MCU just didn't have the people to make the Illuminati team that would make people turn heads. So doing it the multiversal way, you could still attack incursions, and it would have been doper if you get each of these guys from another Earth. And from a movie standpoint, right? I mean, you're taking excuse me, you're taking Miguel O'Hara from the Spider-Verse. That's a big deal too, you know. And it also makes me wish that, you know, this Fantastic Four movie came out earlier as well, post Endgame, you know, right after Endgame, because then we could have gotten a, you know, and this is what you have said, right? We could have gotten a Illuminati project with these characters in it, and they could have been attacking or tackling incursions and running into Kang or Dr. Doom, or, you know, whatever character that they wanted to use. You know, and to be honest, you could have used the Illuminati movie to introduce Dr. Doom in a way as well, because there was a part where, like, you know, an incursion is happening right on top of Latveria, and they pop up, and Dr. Doom's like, okay, what the hell just happened? It's like, what is going on? You know what I mean? And so it could have been an interesting way to even, you know, bring in that big bad guy as well. So this would have been a dynamite idea, and it just makes me think, man. And I wish that I had Feige's phone number, because I would call him and say, why did this not make the cut?
Yeah, seriously. I mean, the multiversal saga would have went down so much differently if they had the Illuminati. It would have been crazy.
Yeah. By the way, No More should be on this as well. I don't know why he wasn't talked about. Just saying.
Yeah.
No More should have been on this one. But yeah, it drives me crazy, bro. It's like, this is a dynamite idea, and it's like, how does this get thrown away? But we get Agatha all along. Like, this is Marvel, bro. This is a deep Marvel cut, and it's like just wasted. It's wild. It's wild. Okay. Now, next topic here: Kevin Feige and Bob Iger. So, obviously, when I say beef, it's not like their relationship is on the rocks and Feige's about to dip away from freaking, you know, Marvel Studios. We're not saying that, but there has been a slight disagreement between Bob Iger and Kevin Feige. So let me pull this up on my phone real fast. Okay, so it says this: Marvel and Disney are reportedly having a conflict on the new X-Men movie releasing after Secret Wars. And these are minor spoilers, so we don't know if these are true or not, so whatever. So Kevin Feige wanted more of a grounded X-Men story with a plot that heavily focused on social issues and the disagreements about what it means to be a mutant. A powerful and dramatic movie that showed what the X-Men were all about, and with the brotherhood of mutants as the villains. But that's not what Bob Iger and Disney want. Aware of the poor performance of the more restrained movies, especially the disappointing box office of Captain America: Brave New World and Thunderbolts, the X-Men script has been requested to focus on a great event movie to get a wider audience like attention. So how do you feel? So like, where like, do you understand, like, how are you viewing what Kevin Feige and both Bob Iger are thinking? And, you know, where do you stand in all this? Like, what is your opinion on both of these thoughts?
I like a lot of Kevin Feige's ideas on this. I think that a grounded X-Men movie would actually be really cool. And the social issues part is a little vague, because that could mean X-Men type social issues. It could mean, you know, real world, politically driven social issues, and depending on which would alter my perspective on this. If it was mutant social issues within the Marvel universe, I'd be happy with it. If it were politically driven from the real world social issues, I would not. The problem with doing politically driven issues is that not all fans are going to share your view of politics, and we're so tired of that. What did you say Bob Iger wanted versus what?
Yeah. So Bob Iger wants the X-Men script to focus on a great event movie to get a wider audience attention.
I think that's important, and I think that could be built into, but I think that a grounded X-Men story could be really, really cool, and I think that would be a really interesting reset for the MCU.
Yeah. Where I'm lying, bro, is I think you need a mix of both. I think that you can have your cake and eat it too. Because
you gotta bake 2 cakes,
facts, bro. Facts, you can, right? And I really do think that, the word social issues, I'm gonna lie, it gives me just PTSD. I'm not gonna lie. It really does. And I'm not sure if I can take any more of it. I'm being honest. I'm not sure if I can at this point.
Especially from people who are like, oh, your social issues matter, yours don't. It's like, I'm so tired of it.
And one of the things that the Fox X-Men did very well was showing what mutants went through without making it a real world issue. You know what I mean? And so if that's the case, I'm all for it. But I also think you could use a really big story to kind of drive the X-Men forward and to bring in, other characters and etc. I don't see a problem with both of those happening. Now, if I was talking about like Avengers versus X-Men, that is ridiculous, and he just needs to be not in the writer's room at all. Just saying, like, that is a ridiculous request. But if we're talking about like just you were using a event story to introduce the X-Men, I don't have a problem with that at all. And there's just so many good stories that you can just pull from. So I'm not against it whatsoever.
Yeah, I agree. And I don't really like the Avengers versus X-Men. Like, I'm not saying it's a bad comic, but there are so many better X-Men comics to pull from, and you could still involve the Avengers. I think that the title for Avengers X-Men just sounds so cool, and people love saying, oh, Avengers versus X-Men. And most of the people saying it haven't read the comic. They don't really read comics. They don't understand there are better X-Men comics to pull from. And I hate that so many people are demanding Avengers versus X-Men, because I think it is so intellectually inferior. Because if you actually read comics, you would know that there are better comics to pull from, but you don't. And you just want to say Avengers versus X-Men because it makes it sound like you know what you're talking about.
Yeah, and like also the concept in the Avengers versus X-Men books is so simple. It's so simple. Like it's honestly nothing special. And it's like the special things about it is when Cyclops is kind of just crashing out on everyone, and that's fun. But like,
also,
sorry, Jim.
Real quick, sorry, because I should have said this before, but the big thing about Avengers versus X-Men that everyone needs to understand is that it's a Phoenix story.
Yeah.
And they have said they want to, and everyone agrees. Funny, a lot of the people saying they want Avengers versus X-Men are also saying they have to stay away from the Phoenix storyline.
Yeah.
Well, if you knew what you were talking about, you would know you're demanding a Phoenix story, because Avengers versus X-Men is all about the Phoenix Force.
Exactly.
So it's ridiculous.
Yeah, and the story is literally about the Avengers want to capture a girl, the X-Men want to keep her with them, and they just fight over it. Like, it's such a simple storyline. It's nothing special. You know what I mean? And what makes it special is when they fight against each other, which is fun. But like, I promise you, if they do it, it will not be what that comic is. It'll be like Captain America Civil War. It will be so different to what
Well, Civil War would be more comic accurate than Avengers versus X-Men. But
yeah,
there are other X-Men comics that the Avengers are in too. It's like
100%.
It's so ridiculous.
100%. But I really do think Feige will make it so different to what people, think it would be. That's what I'm saying. So it's, yeah, man. But yeah, I mean, there's so many things. But yo, Feige, if you hear this, I have an idea, man. Bring in Hickman, right? Let him write the whole X. Let him do all the writing, and then let him finish his story in live action. That would be crazy.
There's no one better for X-Men than Hickman, because X-Men are a team of like big ideas. Their stories have big ideas, and Hickman is the big idea guy. And his X-Men run was insane.
Yeah, please like pull from his stories, man. And like,
if you want to do a grounded X-Men story, he could do that too. There were some of the issues of his X-Men run, which was all dialogue, and they're some of the greatest issues I've ever read in comics. Especially the Magneto with the UN or World Affairs, whatever it was. That at that dinner when he just let everyone know the new rules, and he was like, "SMD." That was wild, you know,
bro. Magneto, man. It's telling you, man. Hickman just knows these characters, bro. Yeah. He's a savant. He's a savant. So we'll see what happens. All right.
The thing about Hickman, though, he's like a real creative, and he says, once I'm done with something, I'm done with it. He's like, you know, like I liked Avengers. I liked writing it. It was a cool experience. I did it. I'm done. I'm not doing Avengers again. You know, so I don't know if he would go back to it. Maybe it would be different because it's a movie, a file, but we'll see.
Yeah, and he's also a dungeon guy, as in like when he gets into something, he goes in the dungeon. Like he don't like he really takes this writing stuff. He says that he'll be stuck in his room for days just writing. Like he's one of those guys. He's a savage
writer.
Mm-hmm. Man, yo, that's a new coin word.
Yeah.
Yo, you need to like write some like jingles or something, dude, and just start selling them online, bro. You got some catchy words, bro. You've been saying. All right, next topic here. Now let's talk about Nova. So the Cosmic Circus said that Nova will be a key player in the next Marvel saga, just like Loki was for the Multiversal saga. So Brad Winderbaum, who is the guy that is in charge of the he was in charge of the Disney Plus shows for Marvel. He said that, you know, they're obviously pulling Nova back, and a lot of other shows have gotten canceled just because of the fact that Disney Plus hasn't been going well. And this makes me feel like, you know, maybe they are shifting to making Nova a movie type of character. So I know you're not the biggest fan of Nova, based off of what he's been in the comics, but I wanted to ask you, like, what changes could they make, you know, and what do you think Marvel Studios could do to make Nova a big deal in the MCU?
You know, I think that Nova, if you're going to make Nova a big character, first of all, this is where the Guardians could come in, because you could add some interconnectivity there. But he is someone who, like, one of his coolest stories of Nova is called Annihilation. A lot of people consider it the greatest Marvel event of all time.
Really?
I don't. It's dope, though. It is a great comic. But in Annihilation, basically, Nova is someone who, after Xandar gets destroyed by what's called the Annihilation Wave, which is led by Annihilus, you know, Nova basically downloads the entire Nova Force and Xandarian world mind into himself, and he gets like a huge power boost. But he goes from a soldier that was basically, you know, spearheading a resistance against the Annihilation Wave, and he confronts Annihilus directly in the climax. I think that if you're going to make Nova a big character, you got to give him something where he goes through some trials and tribulations and becomes stronger on the other side of it. I think that would resonate with fans. I think fans would appreciate someone who went through some kind of challenge and obstacles and then comes out the other side like an absolute savage. You know, I think a lot of the earlier Marvel heroes, like Iron Man, Thor, Captain America, especially in like those first, you know, each of their first original movies had something similar. And if you had Nova go through that and then come out just a savage on the other side, fans would love it. And then you have him built up as this powerhouse because fans got to see him kind of come into his own. It's not an origin story, but it's a story of advancement. I think that would be really cool.
Yeah, I agree. I think that Marvel Studios, and please, guys, don't take this the way that I'm saying it. If Nova is going to be a big deal, you need to treat him you need to treat this casting like you're casting RDJ for Tony Stark. You have to find someone that can embody this character perfectly. Like, you need the perfect casting, like we've seen with, how Star-Lord's version of Star-Lord, it isn't the same as the comics, but for the MCU, it fits perfectly. The same with what's up?
It also has to be Richard Rider. You can't do Sam
Oh
Alexander.
yeah, 100%.
Richard Rider is the guy. Sam Alexander he's like a weak.
He's a boy, bro. You're like, we need Rich. Okay, we need Rich, but the casting has to be perfect. And one thing I feel like Marvel, the reason why fans love Doctor Strange in Infinity War and Endgame is because the Russos weren't afraid to show the power levels of Doctor Strange. Like, Doctor Strange was soloing Thanos without an Infinity Stone. You know what I mean? Because he's just that powerful of a character. And sometimes in a lot of MCU films, it feels like they shy away from the actual power that the character has to nerf them for the actual story. And that's why a lot of people love Captain Marvel 1, because they weren't ashamed to tell us, yo, this is the most powerful character in the MCU, and here's why. And with Nova, if you want him, like, if you want to show him that, yo, this is our most powerful character, or this is our big deal guy, for the casual fan, you have to showcase his power. He has to have, like when I watch RDJ's Iron Man or Captain America, even Hawkeye, like, they have a type of aura to them that's like when I watch Clint Barton, bro, I know that Jeremy Renner knows what he's doing with that character. There is no doubt in my mind that whatever he's going to do, it's going to be flames. And with Nova, he has to have that. And I also do agree with what you were saying as well. He has to be put through trials. That's a really great point. I never thought about that for real. And you saying that is one of the reasons why I love Spider-Man in live action. It is also one of the reasons why I love Batman, bro, because we've seen them time and time again go through the craziest trials. And when you are going through trials with a character, it builds a kind of relationship with you as a fan with that character, and it helps you resonate with their story. So, bro, that was actually a really great point. I never really gave that thought.
Like, the whole thing about Spider-Man and Batman, when you think about all their best movies, or really all of them, they go through crazy trials and tribulations. I'm on such a Spider-Man kick right now. It's crazy. I've been reading Spider-Man comics like nonstop. But anyway, it's not that I don't like Nova. I just think that he is someone that if he, I don't know, some stories with him are cool, some aren't. And if they were going to make him like bigger, they would have done it already. It's just like, and I hate, most of the time I hate his costume. He actually looks pretty cool in that picture though.
Yeah. I mean, I think Nova would need a serious makeover. Kind of like how they did Star-Lord. I really think they like Marvel Studios needs to make a change, and that change needs to happen in the comics too. He's never that interesting for me.
Well, no, what he was dope in is Annihilation, and maybe they should do an Annihilation movie. Maybe they do that. They bring in the Guardians. They use Silver Surfer, and maybe that's like one of the stories they do. Because, like I always said, I think it would be really cool if the MCU got to a point where they could tell multiple stories that. So, for example, say you have an X-Men story going on where there are multiple X-Men movies, and then there's a big X-Men crossover movie. You could also do, at the same time, during the same saga, a Nova movie, a Guardians of the Galaxy movie, a Silver Surfer kind of, special presentation, and then you do Annihilation crossover of Nova, of Silver Surfer, and the Guardians of the Galaxy, and then you have a Cyclops movie, Magneto movie, a Storm movie, and an X-Men movie. And not every story needs to be connected to each story, but you could have other stories that have interconnectivity with other stories going on, kind of like the comics. But I think a lot of people are going to look at the multiversal saga and say that concept is a failure. I don't think that concept is a failure. I just think the multiversal saga is a failure. I think they put out bad projects for bad characters. And I think that there's going to be a lot of misplaced blame, similar to what I was talking about before, when people blame things and they're so vague that they actually miss the mark entirely. This is why when you place blame on things, you really need to be precise and pinpoint exactly what you're blaming on. Otherwise, you're never going to move forward correctly.
100%. Yeah, because the multiverse saga should have been like, I ain't gonna lie, the easiest saga. Just saying, bro.
It's the multiverse. And by the way, I don't think the multiverse concept is a bad concept. I just think that nobody has really done it justice.
100%. All right, next topic here. The Hulk and Spider-Man 4. And by the way, guys, keep on comments. We will answer your chats in the end. The Hulk and Spider-Man 4. Mark Ruffalo will reportedly return as Bruce Banner in Spider-Man Brand New Day. He will have a substantial role in the film. This from nexuspointnews.com. And I did read the article. There was no hints to what his role will be in the plot. They said that, his plot or his role in this file, if true, is very unknown. So how do you feel about the Hulk making a return?
I hate it. I hate this so much. First of all, I think Mark Ruffalo as Bruce Banner as a Hulk has been awful. I can't stand him in the MCU. I can't stand him out of the MCU. And I really, but the main thing here is we were finally looking like we were going to get a Spider-Man file that was a classical Spider-Man movie that was, the New York element, street level, grounded. And now we're talking, and also Spider-Man standing on his own without Iron Man, without Doctor Strange. And now we're talking about Bruce Banner, potentially the Hulk, being in Spider-Man Brand New Day. That doesn't sound like a brand new day. It sounds like more of the same with a different substitute.
It's not the same day.
Yeah. So I don't like it at all. I think if you have to put in other characters, Daredevil, the Punisher, the street level New York characters, that you could keep this movie grounded New York and street level. But if we're talking about Bruce Banner and the Hulk, we're looking at something entirely different than what we expected and what myself and many fans have been wanting from the MCU and Spider-Man for a really long time.
I just don't feel any type of reason for the Hulk to be in this, bro. I don't. I feel like there's no and I was on X and some people were like, oh, like he's going to make the cure to go against Mr. Negative, but it's like we don't. But like Peter could be a part of making that cure, or maybe Gwen Stacy or whoever is in this movie is smart enough to cure something. Like it always feels like Spider-Man needs some extra hero to mentor him or be this guy.
He's a genius himself. Why can't he did the cure himself in Spider-Man PS4? Why does he need the Hulk to do it now? That's a BS excuse.
100%, bro. And that's what I'm saying. Like we don't need Bruce Banner in this. And out of all people, we don't need Mark Ruffalo, who spoils every freaking movie he's in, bro. That's so annoying. Yeah. So yeah, man, I'm not feeling this all. And dude, I hope that this is not true.
Me too.
And if it is true, it just feels like they're trying to shoehorn him in because there's literally no place for him in the MCU right now at all. And they've tried to squeeze him in places, and it just don't work. We saw him in Shang-Chi. We saw him in She-Hulk, where he did nothing. And now they're trying to throw him in this. It's like bro, it's kind of like how I feel about Wong. It's like we can't just force him in here. Yeah, this is a bad move. I hope this is not true.
I mean, what does Mark Ruffalo need a job that bad? I mean, seriously, what's the reason for this? And if there's any Hulk that anyone wants to see, use Red Hulk. He was great in Brave New World. But even he doesn't belong in this file.
I agree.
This is ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, this
could throw the whole movie. By the way, this could literally ruin this movie.
I agree. If true, this could be bad. Now, yeah, even if it's Angry Hulk, it's like, what's the point of Angry Hulk being in Spider-Man Brand New Day?
Yeah. Also, if Angry Hulk is in Spider-Man Brand New Day and you have Angry Hulk in New York again, we're going down the same Civil War path where, we need the Superhero Registration Act because the Hulk destroyed New York again. Like, what are we even talking about?
Yeah, bro. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Hopefully it's just a cameo and you call it a day. That's that's all I need. Like, if he's teaching a class, let me just see that and then go right to the next scene. That's all I want to see, dude.
I would prefer Wong to be in this movie than the Hulk.
Dude, yeah, right. Exactly. I would prefer to see Wong in here than him. Yeah, this is ridiculous. I hope that is not true, and this would be a big L for this movie if true. Okay. Now, next topic here. I wanted to talk about Wanda because I know you weren't the biggest fan of Wanda Vision, but I know you obviously understand that she is an important character in the MCU. Fair. And so I wanted to talk about this idea that they had. So Marvel Studios reportedly had an idea that involved bringing together Wanda Maximoff and Magneto, aka the Ian McKellen, for the Avengers films. And the idea would have been done similar to, or would have been done in a similar fashion to the Wolverine and the X-Men show. Now, in that show, their relationship was basically kind of like she was kind of blindly following him. You know what I mean? And she knew that he was manipulating her to an extent, but she basically was just like, "He my pops. Like, I'm not going to go against my own dad." And it was kind of that silent, tension that was going on. It was nothing too crazy. So, how would you have felt if somehow they were able to unite to unite Wanda and Magneto together instead of going the route that they did in maybe like the Multiverse of Madness? Like, do you think that would have done, or do you think that would have been cool for her as a character?
I don't know. I mean, even when she joined the Brotherhood of Mutants, she didn't really want to do it, and she really did it out of loyalty to Pietro.
Yeah.
I don't know how much I like her ending up with Magneto, and I also don't really like it for Magneto. I think that we should worry about getting Magneto right, not making sure Wanda tags along. And I think also similar to the concept of we're doing a new X-Men thing, we need to shed the old X-Men actors to make sure it feels fresh and new. If we're bringing Wanda along, while she's not part of the Fox X-Men, she's still not part of the new, and she's part of the old. I'm more concerned about Magneto. I don't really care for Wanda one way or the other.
Yeah, I think that Wanda Maximoff needs to be involved in the new X-Men to a certain standpoint. I'm not saying that she's going to be on the X-Men team, but if Magneto was involved, I do think you need Pietro and you need them both there somehow.
Why?
And why? Because those are his kids, and they're both dope characters that should be involved to some degree somehow. And I'm not saying that Wanda needs to be the main character or anything like that, but like, I don't mind seeing Pietro and Wanda, back. And I'm not saying that Aaron Taylor Johnson has to come back or anything like that, but like having both of those characters like under Mags, I don't really see an issue. And and that also opens the door to having other stories, that could even like affect the whole entire MCU. You know what I mean? And I just think that would be super fun, yeah, honestly. But like, so, what's up?
I think it's a tough sell. I think there are way better characters that we're going to have now that we're open to the X-Men, and Wanda and Pietro were never involved in the Fox X-Men, and Magneto was fine then. I think he's going to be fine now with or without him.
Yeah, I do think you downplay the popularity though that she has, and like and having her involved in the X-Men does help the stories, and plus because she is also a very powerful character, and when you have her, and if you have her going up against the X-Men, or even if she pops up in like a movie, like I don't really see an issue with that happening. And like for a character of that power level, there needs to be a place for her, and and could it be on the Avengers? Yes, but she's a big character now, so
She is, and she has a fan base, but I still don't think that she is a proven success. I think that all the projects that she's been a big lead in have pretty much not done well, and I don't think that sheds a positive light on her track record. Doctor Strange: Multiverse of Madness was an L. I see WandaVision as an L. I'm trying to think of other more recent projects where she's been prominent, but I just don't see her as a character that has done well. And I think Marvel recognizes it because it seems like they have moved away from her ever since Multiverse of Madness. They haven't included her in anything.
Yeah. I disagree with you on that though, but hey man, it is how it is. But yeah, I really don't. Yeah, I mean, like, because
in Avengers Doomsday?
No. As of right now, no. She's like with Tom Holland. Them. They're just no one knows what's going on behind the scenes.
Well, we know they're trying to work a deal with Tom Holland.
Yeah, we don't know what's going on with her.
Yeah,
you know what's going on. I mean, if they do move away, I think that's a stupid decision because it's like you do have all these other female characters that like you want to push down our throats. At least get one that's like OP and that doesn't ruffle any feathers at all. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I hope that they work something out. You know, because like I said, I think she's a dope character, man. But yeah, but on that story with her ending up with Mags, one of the other issues that I had with the Multiverse Saga, bro, is like they were scared to introduce the MCU characters that we know to the mutants. You know what I mean? And it was like it just felt like there was always going to be some type of mutants that was going to pop up in some of these files, and they just never did. So like and I don't think Wanda Vision was necessarily the place for her to reunite with Magneto to gear up for Doomsday, but if like and I also feel like if you were going to pair her up with Magneto, then that means that Ian McKellen would have had to be in another project to make sense of why he's trying to recruit her. You know what I mean? Like you have to make sense of that too. So like I feel like there would have had to been a bunch of different steps that would have had to align to even make that make sense. And then the question is that worth it? Because the Multiverse Saga isn't about Wanda Maximoff.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't think she is as significant as they've tried to make her out to be, and I think that's why it didn't work out. Yeah.
I bet. Next topic here. Let's talk about Henry Cavill and Superman 2. By the way, that's Tom Cruise as the GL. Not saying that they were going to cast him. I just like Tom Cruise, Green Lantern.
That is what everyone's saying now. Like all the Snyder heads are, oh well, we love Tom Cruise as Green Lantern. Like that's not.
Exactly. Not true at all. I just enjoy Tom Cruise Green Lantern fan art. You know, guilty as charged. He would have been a great Hal Jordan back in the day. All right, so Christopher McQuarrie, he talked about Superman. He was on whose show is he on? I forget. Let me see. He was on the Happy Sad Confused show. This guy, he interviews all of the Hollywood stars, actors, directors. And so he said that he gave some details about his Superman 2. He said that Green Lantern would have appeared. He said it would have included a 5-minute opening sequence similar to Pixar's Up that would have set the stage for the film of who Superman is. And he said that obviously Henry Cavill would have been his Superman. And this has obviously caused a lot of freaking uproar on the internet, as it always does. Whenever the word Henry Cavill Superman comes up, people start to uproar and people start to complain. So I want to ask you kind of a different question, because you know the Snyder Cult like no other. Aside from the pointless reasons, bro, why people love Henry, why people trip over Zack Snyder's Superman, why do you think that fans are so glued and attached to Henry Cavill Superman, and like why is it that these fans can't let go from all the stuff that you've seen on the internet?
So I think that we're seeing the Henry Cavill Superman obsession from the Snyder Cult right now, just because James Gunn's Superman is coming out with a different actor. You notice it's not Batman, but when the Batman was coming out, it was all about Ben Affleck. And now it's all about Henry Cavill. and they're going to continue to do that. It'll be funny when Wonder Woman comes out and half of them are like, "Oh, we hate Gal Gadot," and then the rest are like, "We love Gal Gadot." Now I think, like I said, I think it's all a show. But you know what's funny? When Black Adam came out and Henry Cavill was in it, none of them cared. They all hated on him for being in the movie. They all gave him crap. They didn't go to see the movie, and now they act like they're the biggest Henry Cavill Superman fan. They are whatever they think is going to make James Gunn and James Gunn Superman movie look bad. They're going to do. It's a horse and pony show. Like, I think there are reasons that they really liked the Snyderverse, and that's a different conversation. But this obsession over Henry Cavill's Superman at this moment in time is it's a show of smoke and mirrors, and it's just BS games.
Yeah, exactly. Now, from a content standpoint, shout out to the Happy, Sad, Confused show, because that was a great way to clip it, brother. Great way to ask a question and get views. So from two content creators to another, great strategy.
And respect to Christopher McQuarrie, by the way, because he is great.
Facts.
He's behind the Mission Impossible files. Obviously is Tom Cruise's right-hand man. Guy's a legend in his own right. And I'm not saying that Man of Steel 2 wouldn't have been a good movie. I'm sure I probably would have enjoyed it. I enjoy a lot of the Snyder stuff, okay? I always did. But I also understand that, and I started reading comics after Batman vs. Superman came out. So not right after, but my point is I didn't understand how different they were and how not comic accurate they were when I first saw them. And I think a lot of people overlook that and overlook why a lot of it falls apart when you do look at that. But then you have to think about the fact that, this Superman 2 movie that would have come out, like, even if it did have Green Lantern in it, sometimes you have to fail to succeed. A lot of people love to criticize those who fail when they become successful, and they're like, "Oh, well, you failed this time." You just have no idea how success works. And I think that the DCEU being a failure was something that DC and Warner Brothers had to experience to get to the point to build the DCU in what it looks like it's going to be today. Remember, Marvel also didn't start out with the MCU. Today, with this Hulk news, a lot of clowns on the internet are talking about the real Marvel Big Three being Spider-Man, Wolverine, and the Hulk. No, Marvel. The real Big Three is Thor, Iron Man, Captain America. Those are the big three. Marvel became more successful than they ever were off of, which makes them the real big three. Okay, period. End of story. I don't need to say anything. Whatever you're going to say to debate me is irrelevant, because nothing is bigger than the success that the MCU had off of those three. Period.
Bro, now, Spider-Man, Wolverine, and Hulk is crazy, bro.
I know. And the DCU, like I said, sure, would a Henry Cavill, Green Lantern, Superman 2 movie been cool? Yeah, but it's a lot cooler than that. An interconnected DC universe with Superman, with Batman, with Green Lantern's Hal and John, Wonder Woman, Supergirl, and I'm sure we're going to get Flash, Aquaman, and the rest of them. We got Lex Luthor. I mean, come on. It's night and day. And, like, I don't know. It sells itself.
100%. Just a better option.
Yeah.
Like, just a better option. There's no, and I want to give Den of Nerds a shout out, because he was showing James Gunn love today. You know what I mean? And I want to highlight it because he can be so negative, and I'm happy that. but even though he sometimes biased, he does give flowers. And so he said that James Gunn is probably not getting paid the amount of work he puts in. Like, James Gunn is working his butt off right now to get this DCU going. And the Den of Nerds made another really great point. He said that the difference between Marvel Studios and the DCU is that Disney from a money standpoint, like even if the Marvel Studios movies flops a lot and they'll get like a couple of wins, like Disney's still okay because they still have the parks, they still have all of these different things that that where they're just flooding billions of dollars from. But DC is a little bit different because DC's success is also Warner Brothers' success in a really big way, and that if this Superman thing lands, and James Gunn's DCU lands, it takes the Warner Brothers studio to another level, and so James Gunn does have a lot under his plate, and the man is putting in undeniable work. I mean, he is busting his butt to get this thing to work. So shout out to James Gunn, man. He's really a hard worker. So yeah. And then another beautiful thing was that he said that when he got the job, one of the first people he called was Feige, which is super awesome. So shout out to them. All right. Last topic of the night. Wanted to talk about some Sony stuff. So Daniel RBK was talking about Tom Holland's Spider-Man and Madam Web, and which kind of caused the kind of like a thread where people were talking about, if Tom Holland's Spider-Man was in the Sony files, would this have saved it? So Tom Holland's Spider-Man was reportedly set to appear in Madam Web due to the original plot was going to be about, those three Spider Women. They were going to save a baby Peter Parker, and then Tom Holland's Spider-Man was kind of going to show up in the end and all that jazz. So I wanted to ask you, bro, like, was Sony smart for keeping Tom Holland's Spider-Man out of all of these Sony projects, or do you think that Tom Holland's involvement would have made these movies rise to the occasion?
I think we're probably lucky that Spider-Man wasn't in them. I don't think Spider-Man being in these movies would have. Spider-Man being in these movies wouldn't be like the way I describe Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, simply adding T'Challa, because Wakanda Forever had all the right pieces down for an amazing movie. The Sony movies don't. So just adding Spider-Man, I think we're lucky that Spider-Man wasn't in those movies. I wish they were better, and I wish they had Spider-Man, but I also wish we had better Green Lantern movies to watch. I also, wish Iron Man didn't die. Like, there's a lot of things I wish for. Like, I don't know,
Yeah.
And I think Sony has done a great job with the Spider-Man brand on everything other than the Sony spin-off universe. You take that spin-off universe away, they don't really have an L on their slate at all. All their movies have been good. So, it's just a shame that they just had to do this stupid universe. It's crazy.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely was a good protection, and I'm sure other people were trying to fight for him not to be in it as well. Very, very smart way. But like when you try to build your U on random characters, it just doesn't work well. You need some type of Spider-Man to do it, and like there's so many Spider-Man, it didn't have to be Peter.
But those characters, like the characters they picked for their villain movies were, most of them are awesome. The only change I think I would make in terms of the ones they picked was I would have done Julia Carpenter as Madam Web instead of Cassie. Julia Carpenter, I think, is way cooler, but whatever. I mean, even if they did, it would have sucked. So, whatever.
Exactly.
And Madam Web is such a dope character. Like, people don't understand. She sees the future. She is like all about the web of life and destiny. She's super cool. But, and I hope that the MCU doesn't overlook using these villains because of their failure in the Sony universe. Again, if they did, they would be pinpointing the wrong components to blame. These movies didn't fail because the characters aren't interesting or compelling. These movies failed because they weren't made with passion and love behind them.
And also, bro, out of all the throwing paint on the wall that they have done, the Spider-Verse sticks. Run with it, run with it. You have Miles, and people already love Miles, so you need to do something with that character in live action.
But I don't think that I wouldn't describe the Spider-Verse movies as throwing paint on the wall. Like, the people that made those movies knew damn well they were making fire, and they were very intentional in a lot of the decisions. And I think that's evidenced by all the delays that the third one is seeing. Because if they were just throwing paint at the wall and just doing whatever and getting lucky with fire, they wouldn't be delaying it, because they're delaying it because they weren't sure which creative direction they wanted to go in. Yeah.
So I think the writers knew what they were doing, but I think Sony as a company, I definitely think that was throwing paint on the wall. I don't and I could be totally wrong, but I doubt that they thought that the Spider-Verse was going to have the impact that it did. You know what I mean? Like, the impact that movie made. I don't think anyone could call it to tell me at that time that movie was going to be that important. You know what I mean? Just to fandom in general. And it's like, you found your fire, and and now you're doing a Spider-Man noir show with Amazon. So like, you're finding some type of a rhythm, so like, keep it up. Hope that we see something out of it. All right. We're going to hit some of these. We are going to hit some of these chats, and then we're going to end the show. All right. So old school movies, you should just make up suits for the toys, and they wouldn't actually appear in the movie. The old Batman movies were like that. Dude, I missed the time where, like, when movies came out, a video game came out about the actual movie. Like, I miss those times. Yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of the Far From Home suit. Prefer the classic red and blue. All right, so the Homecoming suit is my favorite Spider-Man suit of all time. But bro, that black is slick, bro. That black and red is hot. Pause. Black suit for the whole trilogy. Wouldn't be shocked by that either. There are a lot of lines. Yeah, bro. That was funny. Well, I can show you what happened in the comics. That's me every time I went to T'Challa. Recast T'Challa. Dumb fan. Shuri became Black Panther in the comics. Me. Yeah, facts. And Bastard didn't even want her to become the Black Panther, bro.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind a comedic Star-Lord show or something. No, I'm good. Yeah. Caitlin. Okay. Just going to skip that comment. Smiles, my God. Yeah, we don't want. I don't even want to give them any ideas. So we're just going to delete that comment in our brains. The suit. Sophie Rain is Storm at that point, dude. Yeah. The suit has grown on me, and I love it. Still think the Reeve suit, in terms of comic book accuracy, is better, but I'm starting to really like the new suit. I'm hyped for this movie. How is the Reeve suit accurate? Okay. In the first look, he almost looks like he's wearing a different version of Cavill suit with like the coloring and stuff. But now, dang, I love the trunks on. Yeah, it fits well. Pause. All right. I think at Comic-Conti, she's going to give us her Batman and our Wonder Woman casting. I don't know what that is. What I hope for Comic-Con DCU, we went over that. We went over that. Let's see. I think if World's Finest is done well, then it could work. It definitely could. It just can't. It just can't be a model of what Batman versus Superman was. But I don't think Dave's going to be rushed.
Like, yeah, I don't want one Superman movie, one Batman movie, and then a World's Finest.
Facts. Yeah, like a World's Finest movie following Justice League would slap. That's actually a great idea. Yeah. That you said earlier. They are the perfect encapsulation of what Superman was in 1977. Just that year just makes you want to puke. But you want to know something from me? Superman the movie is a better watch than Man of Steel. What? That's crazy, bro.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's crazy. Dude, I would rather watch Smallville and suffer through Lana Lang and Clark Kent than freaking watch that. They are dated, but they still are great movies in their own right. Hey man, to each his own. But I'm never rewatching those ever again. If Brave and the Bold doesn't release till 2028 because of the Batman Part 2 being in 2027, what do you think they need to do to maintain the hype before 2028? Me personally, I think a Lantern movie is the only way. I don't know, bro. Honestly. I don't know. But I think after Comic-Con we'll have answers. And I think I told you this before, bro. After their Comic-Con panel, I can answer this question for you. I just need more information from what they're doing. Like there's just a lot of question marks, and I don't necessarily want to just start making up information out of my pie hole. The problem with BVS is that it is rushed, not necessary. That the concept is bad. It was just rushed and cut movie. I think it was finest movie with the character. Yeah, facts. Green Lantern as the fourth pillar makes more sense. You have Wonder Woman for the female representation and John Stewart, Green Lantern for black for representation. Ugh, I just hate that we have to make it that obvious. So corny of our world. But you are right. Would be really cool if we see not just Toby and Andrew, but also Miles and Miguel. Oh, that would be crazy. And Oscar Isaac as Miguel be fire.
That would be wild.
What if would have spinned off into Exiles? Ugh, God, nastiness. I wish instead of getting a bunch of cameo corn, thank you for that word, man, because we don't say the P word. The multiverse styles would have been about exploring other worlds in the multiverse. Ooh. Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Flash, Green Lantern, Supergirl, and Robin, Teen Titans. That's the 7 pillars of DC. I think you just need the big 3: Bat, Supes, Wonder Woman, and then everybody else falls behind.
Yeah.
It would have made more sense if this was the show that showed us what incursions actually look like. Facts, bro. Facts. What if could it be used for that too? Kevin, I want grounded in social issues. Bob, I want a big event and spectacle. Why not both? Exactly, bro. Exactly. And for some reason, someone is going to find a way to say that we are wrong in saying that somehow. Yeah. Probably because Spider-Man 2099 couldn't be on the team because of rights. Probably. I remember someone. I remember there were rumors going around that like Feige was trying to work with them on it, but they couldn't come to like some type of agreement about it. Yeah, that's what I'm worried about. Real life politicals going into movies. It's like when I say Marvel should not race swap Magneto, and a dumb fan goes, you know, Magneto is based off of Malcolm X. Exactly, bro. Ridiculousness. Not like Ultimate X-Men though, right? Anything but Ultimate X-Men. At least the first 2 volumes. Just don't make Magneto black. Trust me, bro. They're not. And honestly, I don't even think Denzel would take the role if like that was the case. I don't even think he would do it. There are other events that has the entire Marvel universe and it's not called Avengers. Facts. Feel like Nova is similar to Sentry, is an overhyped character. Saw mad people online for years hyping up bootleg Green Lantern.
Not wrong. No.
Yeah, you're not wrong, bro. And he's way cornier. I understand why they're calling it Avengers Doomsday and Avengers Secret Wars, but I really kind of wish they just simplified it to Marvel's Doomsday and Marvel's Secret War.
Actually, Marvel. The reason they're going to do it, and they're going to continue to do it, it's the same reason they changed Thunderbolts to New Avengers. They thought it would sell more tickets. Yep.
Avengers just has a ring to it now. I also read somewhere that they wanted to focus on the soap opera. Okay. Yeah, let's just not do that. Soap opera aspects. Yeah, dude. I can't. I can't take the countless like romance back and forth. I think a space cop show with Nova could be cool. Maybe one day do Annihilation. You can't, bro. You need to go big.
Yeah,
if he's going to be your important character.
That sounds like let's just do what Green Lantern's doing.
Yeah, like you have to go insane with him. You gotta off the bat, just as you said, just do Annihilation off the bat. You have to go crazy. You may not like Nova, but Annihilation is sick.
I don't know if maybe I said I don't like. It's not that I don't like him. And I think he could be cool in the comics. I just think like a lot of people online hype him up and they don't even know who he is.
Mm-hmm. It was really cool how they tied into Secret Wars with Nova being like, I can't trust any of them. And they're picking sides, heroes picking sides. It's cool how Annihilation tied into Civil War by having him call Earth and then ask him which side he's on. And he just goes, all right, nope, never mind.
Yeah. And they took place at the exact same time. So that's how that is.
Yeah. Comics are hilarious, bro. Comics are so funny. They are, bro. Yeah, because like some of these heroes are like, yeah, I'm gonna just X out of this. I'm gonna X station left. Hulk and Spider-Man 4 would be wild. I would rather a Wolverine versus Hulk movie. We should hashtag recast the Hulk. I agree, bro. Yeah, we need just a better actor, bro. Bring back Norton, bro. Bring back Norton. there is less reasons for Hawk to be in Spider-Man than there are for Captain America. Right? At least Wong can be irritating. We are not starting like a get Wong back in MCU, okay? All right, we have Fumer comments around here. Or make Mark Ruffalo go back to Savage Hawk. Exactly. Civil War 2, we ran out of ideas, the movie. James Gunn loves comic books. He legitimately loves doing comic book films because he loves these characters. Facts. The Sony movies have problems beyond not having Spider-Man in them. They fundamentally forgot that the characters they are adapting are villains, not heroes, and they try to make them heroes. Oh, you're cooking right now, Smiles. Come on, man. Instead of getting villain movies, wouldn't it have been great if we got like a Spider-Man? Yes, bro. Or a Scarlet Spider file. Oh my gosh. Ooh. Give me all the Ben, man. I need it. Pause. The Amazing Spider-Man 2 suit was fire. I hate that costume. Huh?
I agree. I love that suit.
I hate that costume. Big eyes drive me insane. Ooh, look at my big eyes, guys. Spider-Man. It drives me nuts. Ugh, so ugly. I think you and look, I'm gonna lie, I die alone on that hill, and I'm totally fine too. I think y'all aren't giving Reeves his due. Reeves is a legend, but the movie is just outdated, bro. It's just facts. Like,
yeah, we're not taking away from his impact and legacy and what those movies meant for its time. We're just saying that they don't compare to the movies of modern day because they're so outdated by every measure you could think of. And when I'm sitting down to watch a movie, I want to watch a movie that has evolved storytelling, advanced visuals, Dolby Atmos sound, 4K, like, and to some people that might, especially the people that love the classics, and I'm sure they'll be like, oh, well, you're a spoiled brat. Am I spoiled because I enjoy living in 2025 with all the advancements that we have? Does that make me spoiled? Like, you could choose to love something because it's old and it's classic, but you have to at least acknowledge the leaps and bounds that have been advanced in the medium of movies since then, to the extent that movies aren't films anymore because they're not shot on film. And that's why I call them files, because I'm not sitting down to watch a film. I am sitting down to watch a digital file. And I know to some of you that might sound silly and stupid. Oh, I'm going to see the file. Well, I love that it sounds stupid, because that's actually my favorite part, that it sounds stupid. Because when you think about it and you think it sounds stupid, it's actually smart. That's the best part. It sounds stupid, and then once you think about it, you realize it's smart.
Yep. And off topic, you sent me this like a little, I think 15 ago. Or no, it popped up. Like, that was about the Hawk in them. Yo, the cinematography for Fantastic Four is magnificent. Oh my god, dude. My god.
And
the shots are insane, bro. Oh my god.
It seems that it's mostly practical, and it's a lot, like, I'm sure a lot of it's going to be CGI, but it seems that practical sets are making a comeback, and I like that.
I agree. Not a fan of Anchor Beings 2. Do you think Marvel will continue that with Dimension? No, I think Anchor Beings are chalked, bro.
Yeah, they haven't mentioned it.
And the Fantastic Four coming to Thunderbolts is like a little bit of a message of that thing doesn't matter anymore. Because they're just coming to Earth. There's no Anchor Being, none of that. I think that thing's cooked. Someone mentioned via Reddit that Peter Parker is the Anchor Being of 616, and after Strange's last spell, he was transported to a pocket universe. Don't like that. That's like too much going on. Just keep it simple. True, I still find it more entertaining than Man of Steel, but see you all next week. All right, guys, thank you so much for hopping on, man. We hope you guys had a great time hanging out with us for a few hours. We just hope you guys have a great week, man. Stay crispy and peace out, y'all. Content going every day. See you later.